All right, when we showed these statistics over the weekend, we were doing live programming on the election. I mean, one thing that stuck out like a sore thumb is how the media disproportionately covers any Trump scandal to any Hillary Clinton email scandal. Google Trends is another matter. Those are Google users, average folks like you and me, who are going on there and searching anything having to do with WikiLeaks versus, for example, these Trump allegations, even Trump women. Look at that comparison. Suffice to say, the blue lines indicate a much higher percentage of folks, up and down, depending on the latest WikiLeaks reports coming out, much more interested in that than this much lower yellow line, lower than that red line that showed the Trump scandals. What is wrong with this picture? You're interested in this. You are into this. The mainstream media, not so much. Not by a long shot. To media critic Roger Arnold. Roger, what do you make of that?
Well, Neil, yes, you're exactly right. I think this is once again evidence of what Trump is calling a rigged election. It's the big picture rigged, in that the media is so stacked against him, and they are focusing on every allegation that is being made against him. And as you point out, the public is much more interested, based on Google searches anyway, in finding out the latest WikiLeaks revelations.
Yeah, like by a factor of, what, 8 to 1
right.
In favor of it. Now, it's one thing, I'm not saying, and I think you and I chat about this, Roger, I think you were open to this, if you're going to pursue any of these stories regarding Donald Trump and these allegations, have at it, that's fine. But just show similar zeal, or at least maybe, I don't know, half the zeal for some of these WikiLeaks allegations that are coming out, because they are, to put it mildly, disturbing and constitutionally disturbing, but nothing. I've never seen a disconnect like this.
That's true. But I see a different thing, in that they're missing the point in a way, looking for a smoking gun in the latest WikiLeaks revelations. Because if they're looking for smoking guns that should have disqualified Mrs. Clinton, there's plenty of them around. Just go back and look at Comey's testimony and his press conference right before he announced that no reasonable prosecutor would prosecute the case. She handled classified information on a regular basis on an unsecured server, including information marked classified. And so this hunt for a smoking gun, in a way, is really a distraction that, in a way, benefits Mrs. Clinton, because the way they keep reporting it is they say, oh, well, this just confirms things that we already knew about Mrs. Clinton. So let's move on.
You're right about that. That's how it's explained. Like, this is really nothing new, and yet with every new batch we discover something new, something disturbing. The one thing I've discovered, and just stepping back anecdotally, is the Hillary Clinton in those emails sounds a lot more pragmatic and compromising, and a lot more like her husband about making deals than the much more political, rabid left-winger who speaks before the microphone. So it does offer the possibility that when it comes to being free, unfettered trade, or being more friendly to capitalists, that they're not all evil SOBs. She invites an intriguing alter ego to that, but it does get back to, and maybe all this interest in Google users trying to find out what the deal is, who the real Hillary Clinton is.
Yes, and a recent Washington Post ABC poll showed that only 33% find Mrs. Clinton trustworthy and honest, while 42% find Trump trustworthy and honest. And I'm really not sure how much we can trust the polls this year. I think this is an irregular year.
Yeah, what do you think of that, Roger? A lot of people are telling me it's analogous to the kind of polling that was going on before Brexit, which was the reverse of what we got, even before the Colombian peace agreement vote that we saw going on in Colombia, where the president cobbled together a deal with rebels. It looked like it was going to pass there. It ends up losing. So that there is a history where what seems to be understated populist rage ends up being acute populist rage in this country as well?
Definitely. I think so. I think people are afraid to acknowledge that they support Trump, because they will then have to defend his actions, his comments, and they don't want to do that. And I think they don't trust pollsters, they don't trust the media, and we'll see if there are enough of them that rise up on Election Day to overcome the rigged system and put Trump in office. And then what happens? Is Obama, what's he going to do at that point if that happens? So
well,
there's a lot of
wild
shoes to drop.
possibilities. Roger, thank you very, very much. Roger Aronoff. I mentioned that Colombia example, folks, and we'll get into it a little bit here because you've heard about how Brexit fooled people. But in the Colombia case, they were expecting that to be a walk, that the voters in Colombia would overwhelmingly approve this deal with FARC rebels that would finally have brought peace to that country. And it was expected to pass by a 20% margin. It lost by about 1.5%. So it's a reminder, as if we need it, that oftentimes people will say one thing and do another. Now, people interpret polls any which way they can and will to advantage themselves. But I mention those examples because they were erudite polls put out by erudite organizations that had an erudite read on what was going on until average folks said, no. Stick around.